Issues. This is Dave Arnold, your host of Cooking Issues, coming to you live on the Newsstand Studios, heart of Manhattan, Radio City. How you doing? Everything good?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Good, yeah. Friday afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for those of you that we're recording this on a Friday, so we got to see how that Friday vibe is. We got, of course, John. How you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Yeah?
Yep.
Unfortunate for you having to show up to the show before a service on a Friday, but...
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's just so slow that we have an influencer coming tonight.
Oh, jeez.
I hate that stuff so
Oh,
much.
my God. You know who loves influencers? Is this Nastasia the Hammer Lopez.
I believe it.
Just kidding.
Influencer.
Yeah.
God is an influencer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not true.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, you influence some people.
that's true. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Yeah. Well, that's Jackie Molecules. Where are you right now?
L.A., back home.
All right. And Nastasia, where are you right now?
I'm going somewhere with Alexis.
Okay,
Our friend
what
Alexis.
state are... Oh, wait. What state are you in? Just tell me what state you're in. Or you
Why
don't...
does it matter so much? I'm in California.
All right. California. All right. And we got Joe Hazen rocking the panels. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah, good. We do not have, unfortunately, Quinn today. Hopefully, we have to record again on Friday next week, so hopefully, he can be back with us next Friday. So, any of you guys have anything good over the past? How long has it been? It's been 2 weeks, right?
I think so, yeah.
I did a what are those? What are those things called? Live? What are those things called? Where you're for the Patreon? I did a live stream for them from my house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was nice.
Oh, well.
I have no idea if it was nice. But I might do that again because we're also postponed until next Friday. Next week, maybe I'll do one live from London because tomorrow I have to fly out from Newark to London, a place I have not been since, well before the pandemic. So I'm assuming it's still there. I'm assuming it's still pretty much the same,
Would assume.
Joe, you go to London quite a bit. How is it? Is it still there? Is it still the same?
It's still the same. Yeah, I haven't been since haven't been in a couple years.
Oh.
Honestly.
All right. Oh, that's right. Your trip was canceled.
The airplane kind of broke down on the tarmac.
Oh, my God. Nastasia and I were talking about this. Your airplane actually broke down on the tarmac, right?
Yeah, it's something to do with the brakes.
Yeah. I just don't think they hire enough crew and pilots now so that they cancel flights constantly. It's crazy.
Constantly, I know.
It's nuts. Yeah. So you have to, book... Anyway, whatever. Yeah. Everyone knows this. It's not interesting. So what do you guys got over the past couple of weeks? Anything?
Stayed at Nastasia's in Stamford. That was nice.
Did you...
We did the old apartment swap.
Did you leave a half-empty bottle of Alizé on the counter, or what was your power guest move?
No, I was a very considerate guest. Left it very clean.
Yeah.
And I think, I did a 24-hour carnitas at the house, which went extremely well.
All right. Now,
it was a big hit.
So, what was your technique?
I think it was 129.
We did in a bag.
Yeah, a big old gallon Ziploc bag, which is packed to the gills and kind of precariously just submerged. So it's always without a really big vessel or a vacuum deal. It's always a little precarious, but I pulled it off.
Okay, now hold a second. So 129, you say? What is that? What is that in Celsius land, John? Can anyone do that math for me? That's not one of the ones I know off the top of my.
What is it? 129.
129. Is that? It's 50 something, right? What is that?
Oh, that is not correct.
57. No, 57 is 135.
Oh, I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. It was 160. It was 74 Celsius. I'm crazy.
Okay, yeah, fine. All right.
Something else.
I was gonna say that's not long enough at that temperature. It's going to be problems.
No,
yeah. All right.
74.
Yeah. And the texture was good?
Oh, yeah. Finish it in the broiler.
What made you choose 74?
Serious Eats recipe, to be honest. They give you 3 options.
And what were their 3 options? Because to me, 74 is kind of an in-betweener. I'm not sure. In other words, 74 is, it's an in-betweener. It's not like a traditional, but it's higher than a low temp. It's in that kind of weird zone.
Yeah, the 3 options they list are 63, 74, and 85. 63.
I used to do 63. 63 is like 48 hours.
Right.
And 74 shouldn't take 24, but I mean, I don't know what difference it's going to make.
12 to 24 is what they say.
I would say 12 is more accurate.
Yeah.
And then, but I just, when I'm doing that, we should do a side by. We'll do that. We'll do the side by side. Whenever I used to do side by side of those kinds of things, of like long cook things, like I would get the entire room of people together, right? And then we would do short ribs that I put into the bag. I never did it with shoulder, but short ribs in a bag, boneless. Come on. And then we would just basically boil them at braised temperature, right? And then we would do, for short ribs, you don't typically go that high. So an in-betweener would be like 60 for short ribs, but you go lower, like 57 Celsius, something like this. And you cook them long enough so that all the textures are the same. And the vast majority of people prefer the traditional. Vast. Side by side. Everyone likes all of them. But in some ways, it's easier to do the long temp. And I haven't done it with carnitas, by the way. I have not. So let's just stipulate that. I mean, everyone knows that low cooked pork belly is delicious. But and that's also typically an in-betweener temperature. A lot of people go in like 69, 70, although I used to do it like 63, 64. Anyway, point being that I need to do more of those kind of side by sides because I used to do them all the time when I was at the French Culinary Institute. But I don't know. It is what it. Take it for what it is. But I'm glad that everyone enjoyed it. And the cool thing is that you can just let it rock and then pull it out and crisp the hell out of it whenever you want to. So it's super convenient. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Extremely convenient.
Did you acidify it at all? Was there any acid, or was it a salt, pepper, and like whatever cumin or whatever in the hell else you put in, oregano? What garlic?
Orange. No, the orange juice, like a fresh squeezed orange, and then leave the peel in there, and a little onion and cinnamon, and
cinnamon.
It was great.
So the other question I always have in long cook situations with like super long cooks. By the way, I go the opposite direction. Typically, when I do like this style, any porky stuff like this, I'm way behind the 8 ball, so I pressure cook it. And pressure cook the ever loving snot out of it, and it's real good because the pressure cooking at a high temperature amplifies the kind of meaty flavors of it. So, what we should do is because that we never did at the French Culinary Institute. We never did standard braise, right? Or whatever you want to call what they do to carnitas, slow cook, whatever. Standard braise, pressure cook, and then 2 different sous vides. The nice thing about the non-in-betweener sous vides is that the meat, the connective tissue renders into gelatin, but it doesn't fully liquefy. So you can cut the meat into perfect cubes. To me, that was the cool thing about it, is that you could fabricate the low temp kind of braises into kind of perfect things that could be skewered. They wouldn't like shred themselves in the pot like a traditional braise would. And so, you could do these like awesome things where you would like make these like blocks or cubes and then like and like perfectly sear them on the outside and then hand them in. You know what I mean? Anyway, you did the roast off. You ever do the pan finish on them where you like let them sit in their own juices and reabsorb all their juices? Then like you drain some of the juices off and then you pan like after you shred it, right? You shred it, you pan sear the hell out of it, scrape it off, get all the crusty bits, and then pitch it back with the juice again and let it soak up, and then you put it in the keep warm.
Oh.
Yeah, it's good. It's real good. And, that's what I do typically. Anyway, all righty. What about you, Stas? You got anything?
No, I didn't really. It was really hot in LA. I didn't cook anything at Jack's place.
Did you eat?
I didn't want to ruin his kitchen. All of his stuff was.
Oh, what stuff?
Like cooking stuff.
Wait, you're saying that Jack has like some like really like pristine cooking stuff, and you were afraid to touch it for fear of messing it up? Because I kind of want to know this. Like I've never been to Jack's kitchen. Oh, nice. Like what kind of stuff? What do you got there, Jack? What's your like? Everyone has the one thing in their kitchen where they're like, ooh, that's my thing. Like that only you
it's
really.
It's Sears All Pro.
Oh snap!
Hey-o.
Yeah, I've been getting some good feedback on the Pro. The Pro really is better. I wish we could get more of them in the country. I love the Pro. I use the Pro at home.
Great.
Anyway.
No, I
They
actually
should almost-
don't use that much.
They should almost be back in the country.
Oh, they're actually on the water now?
They should be on the water next week. Yeah.
Pro on the water. You got it in my head now. Dun, dun,
You got that in your own head.
It's not my fault, man. Everyone knows. What's up? I got fishbowl by a kid wearing the old school, like, you remember like in the 90s, in the early 90s when everyone had the super high hat, the super high baseball hat with the hyper flat brim and the sticker on the side? It's coming back. I just saw like a 9 or a 10-year-old rocking the super flat, super crisp Yankees hat, like way the heck up high on his head. I kind of like that look. I've always loved that look because I'm like, how is that thing not blowing off your head?
Yeah,
I love it. Anyway, it's always good. Like, I hate it when like crappy things come back.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
It's not good. Yeah.
Well, you know what the problem is? When it comes back, the people who it's coming back with, they don't have the referent of what the people were like the first time around. Right?
True.
So they can't know, oh, only D-bags did that back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway. But I don't think that tall hat, that wasn't a D-bag move.
No?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, Nastasia disagrees. Well, I wasn't part of it in L.A. I only saw like East Coast people doing it. You're saying in L.A. like they were not your favorite group of
No,
people?
that was me chiming in with 50-50. I was saying 50-50 on that. I think there's some, it could be. But I also grew up in Long Island, so I mean, maybe that's just all
That was
I'm
your first
reflecting on.
mistake. That was your first mistake.
Yeah.
Listen, no offense, Long Island, but everyone who's from around here knows, like, you're either like a Westchester person or a Long Island person. And, you know, the only thing we can agree on is Jersey, nah. That's the only thing we can agree on. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Yeah. Although, you know, my elementary school years were spent in Jersey. So I feel like I can play both of those sides, but I definitely can't play the Long Island side. So, you know what I mean?
Lucky you.
Oh, yeah. So how many North Face jackets do you own? Everyone from Long Island
None
owns like
anymore.
30 North Face jackets. Am I right?
I did, yeah. I won't lie.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you're not. At least you're not a liar. All right. John, you have anything?
I've been messing around with corn lately, and if you puree it and then slowly heat it up, it starts to set. It's interesting.
Like fresh corn?
Yeah.
Huh? And is the fresh corn already in the farmer's market?
It's just starting to be, yeah.
Yeah?
Started last week.
What are you? You a silver queen? What are you? Bicolor? What are you?
Bicolor, but I probably haven't tried enough. Right now, it's only the bicolor that I've noticed, at least on Wednesdays. But
And what is your dekerneling method? Since you're going to blend it, doesn't matter, right?
yeah, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, I don't know, big bowl, small bowl, flipped over inside the bowl, and then
You're vertical.
Yeah.
You're not a rotary.
No.
You're not a
I mean,
rotary.
when I'm cutting it, right? Not eating.
When you're getting the kernels off.
yeah.
You don't do the like Yusuba style rotary.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You're just
not-
like shump,
yeah, basically, yes.
and then do you milk the cob with your knife?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll make a stock with that, and then I folded that back in, and yeah, I wanted to do it for a pasta, but it's not good in that application, or at least in the way it currently is.
So
But-
tell me how this works. So there's enough starch left in it that if you just puree it and then heat it slowly, the starch sets. You don't have to bind it at all.
Yeah, no.
And then what level of gel are we talking about? Like, what are we?
I've taken it to like soft butter kind of consistency. And I even just left it in the Vitamix the other day and just let that heat it up and do it, and it's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone around you loved you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, no, it's interesting. So I don't know. Gonna see what I can do with it. But
That's
interesting.
now I'm getting more to your kitchen. Whatever, crap on them.
Yeah,
Who cares?
exactly.
Who cares what they think. Yeah. I'll try your corn. You know what I like? That's kind of it's not corn pudding, but you put it in my head is a spoon bread.
Ooh.
I love spoon bread.
Very good.
Oh my god! You know I've never had spoon bread out. I've only made it myself. You ever had it out? Who
I don't
serves
think
spoon bread?
so. I think my mom's made it. That's the only way of maybe like other family gatherings. Yeah, I don't know. It's good though.
Yeah, real good. Okay, you thinking about corn cobs? I know we said this before. Does anyone on earth like baby corn?
No.
I don't.
No. It's Jack. Are you going to be like? You're not chiming in. So does that mean that you actually like it and you're just embarrassed to say so?
No.
Yeah. No. Right? Why does it exist? Like, what's it for?
I don't know.
Like, the texture's not good. The flavor's not very good. I mean, like, what is it? Why does it exist? Anyone? Like, conceptually, it's cute. I'll give it that. It's cute. Like, why else does it? Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't even have conjecture, right? That's how little it
No.
should exist. Okay, have any of you ever bought, I'm going to answer no for me, like, why would you buy canned boiled potatoes?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, like, have any of you ever bought that? Why would you buy that? Now, I do have, from being a child, a soft spot for the disgusting, pasty canned sausages. You know what I'm talking about? Like Vienna fingers?
Yeah.
Where, like, they're literally like...
sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's halfway between a sausage and a pate because it's been canned so hard. And, you know, and the two cut ends, they look, you know... Yeah, I do have a soft spot for that. And I also loved, I haven't had it in years, the potted meats, the deviled meats, the ones that are like halfway between a rillette and dog food. You know the ones I'm talking about? I love those. You know what I mean? Back in the day. Anyway, I don't know how I got on this. All right, so I have so much crap to talk about that we should probably talk about it later and just do some questions first. What do you guys think? Anything else I'm missing? Pressing stuff? Any business stuff, Stas, that we need to talk about?
What, we have 2 more months of Spinzall sales?
Is it a full 2? I thought it was like a month and change.
What kind of cool stuff have you figured out about the Spinzall?
All right. Well, since you asked, John, we've been messing with the program, right? So it's now going it's going faster now. So 43:30. I don't know if I'm going to try to push it even higher because it's spinning a lot better now. But the upshot is that 4 minutes is now like my standard go-to spin on pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And I've also increased the acceleration on it, so now it gets up to speed in 30 seconds. And I just, yesterday was running some tests on faster deceleration time. So if you decelerate too quickly, it rips the puck apart. And so I was testing, tomato because, it's got a pretty loose puck. And anyone else wants to tweet me and tell me something else to test, something that they have trouble with, they want me to test before I lock this in. But 30 seconds is still, the puck doesn't break up at all on tomato. And so now a full cycle from start to stop, 5 minutes flat.
Nice.
5 minutes flat. From shut to open, 5 minutes flat. And the other thing is that the pump now goes super fast on the high speed. So it's always advisable to fill, when you're doing continuous work, it's always advisable to fill the rotor with the pump, because what happens is the crap that floats on top, if you just dump it in the rotor, that stuff will get pushed out first and cloud everything up. If you feed it with the pump, that floaty crap gets filtered out by the tube feeder, right? So, but now it used to be it would take like minutes to fill your thing, even at fast speed, but now it's like under a minute to fill it with the pump. Or it's exactly a minute almost. It's a 475 a minute. And then the slow now is super slow. So slow that like I was getting almost batch level clarity on continuous mode. So all in all, great changes. The only negative thing that's happened recently is the safety lab would not allow. So in the old one, they deemed it too easy to push down and start it. So the old one, if you just take your finger and push real hard on where the lid lock thing is supposed to go, you can kind of engage you can make it think that the motor is there. And they didn't have a problem with that because the shaft at the top was smooth. But now that it's got a hex shape, they're not happy with that. So they're making us make the lever arm in the bowl a little bit longer. And the upshot of that is that the only negative is that the bowl is no longer backwards compatible. So you can no longer use a 1.0 bowl in a 2.0 and vice versa. So that's the only negative. The lids already weren't compatible, and the rotors are still compatible in the tube feeders. I'm investigating changing the tube feeder, but that will not be in this run. Probably won't be for another year or so. But that will be backward compatible, so people can get a new lid and a tube feeder should I ever change it. That's it. That's good. I've been doing a lot with ginger and magnesium carbonate. People, there are two different magnesium carbonates out there. I got to do some testing on the second kind. There's heavy magnesium carbonate and light magnesium carbonate, and you can really tell the difference. Light magnesium carbonate is like Ensorbit level lightness. It's like super non-dense. It's like super fluffy. And the dense stuff is dense. So I haven't tested the dense stuff to see whether it works as well. I'm hoping I can test it this afternoon before I pack up to fly out. Just because I want to know whether you need to worry about it. I've already mentioned lactic acid on the show, right? That I was wrong about that all these years? Did I already mention that?
I don't think so.
Oh, geez. Get this, people. So in Liquid Intelligence version 1.0, I say this is one of those rare situations where if you making a mistake, two mistakes cancel each other out. And those two mistakes canceling each other out has led me to 10 years of wrong thinking, right? But the recipe worked. This is why you have to be open to like observation of what's going on. So I always didn't like buying liquid acids. Like, for instance, phosphoric acid and lactic acid are both available as liquids, right? Phosphoric acid is the only way I know to get it as a liquid. But I always recommend, and I wrote it in Liquid Intelligence, I was like, get the powdered lactic acid because I like being able to measure it. I want them to ship me a powder. I want to carry powders with me, make my own solution, blah, 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 at the exact weight. No lactic acid powder says on it that it's not pure lactic acid. I did mention this?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's only like 50. The one I measured that I got at Kalustein's is only 55% pure. So the upshot is that my champagne acid, which is 1-to-1 tartaric to malic at 6%, ends up being about as sour as lemon or lime juice. So I always assumed that it was because they all had relatively the same sourness at the same concentration. But no, it's because tartaric acid is, in fact, more sour than malic and citric. And lactic acid is a little bit less, but I was also using impure lactic acid. So now I have to re-mentalize all of that for the second go-around on the book. Anyway, what are you going to do? Turns out nothing. Turns out I'm going to do nothing. All right, so I have on my sheet here, John, promote the Patreon membership and mention upcoming guests. So do you know who they are and what I should promote?
I can find out who the upcoming guests are. But in the meantime, patreon.com/cookingissues. As always, there's different levels of membership, 3 different levels. You get perks at every level. You get to have your questions answered, as quickly as possible. Dave prioritizes answering those. You get access to fun live streams on Patreon, which Dave has started doing, wants to keep doing.
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. Like, the question is trying to figure out a time people can get on, And the other problem with it, maybe someone can let me know, is it's weird because I can read what people type into the thing, but there's no kind of give and take. I tried to have Quinn on for a little while. We couldn't figure it out because I wasn't doing it on my phone. We'll try to figure out a better mechanism. But anyway, maybe, like I said, maybe I'll do one from London. All right. Did you already say what guests are coming on?
I think we need to schedule a little more. Yeah. So any suggestions for guests, let us know, and we'll try and make some things happen.
Yeah. You know what we've never had? Have we ever had a guest on, Nastasia? Have we ever had a guest on where we were like, it was like almost like pugilistic, where we really just completely disagreed about everything? We almost did, right? You were going to book someone on once.
I think we did. I have to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, we used to have, your buddy used to call in all the time and just like poke the bear, just get me all riled up. Remember that? Those are the good old days of like, she would call and just say some sort of crazy bullcrap and just get me bent, just get me super bent. Oh my God.
I don't remember that, no.
Remember Claire used to call in and like you would get
Claire.
Yeah, you would get her to call in and just like like say things that I could, because you know me, right? I was like, I'll take it, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? I just get to that point. So people don't know. Yeah, people don't know they're reaching that point because all of a sudden I'm like, I can't. No, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. Wasn't she also the Vegetti queen?
Yes, having Nick on is a lot sometimes,
Captain Greasy?
Yeah.
The Oil King? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love my man Nick Coleman. I think he's good. I think I love it when he comes on. We'll get him to bring a bass next time instead of a bansuri. How about that? And we'll just have him do like Seinfeld licks, like in the back as we're doing. He can direct box into Joe's panel, and I don't know, Joe. Can he direct box into your panel?
Yeah, of course he can. I got DIs.
All right, there you go. There you go. This is why it sucks being a bassist, people. When you're a guitarist, right? When you're in a small venue, they might not even mic the drums, right? Because your drums are loud. The guitarist, they're like, how do you want your guitar to sound? And they like care about your amp. They care about all your stuff. When the bass person shows up, they're like, plug it into the panel. You're like, what? You're like, I don't care what your bass sounds like. Plug it into the panel. They don't care. You know what I mean? At least they didn't used to. Do they care now, Joe?
Yeah, we do. I'm a bass player, so I like to DI in.
Yeah, but
I mean, you can definitely get, there's gain, but if you want it to sit nice in the mix, like, definitely DI.
Yeah, but I'm talking like you're like the fifth. You're like there's like 10 bands playing. Every band's doing a half-hour set. Sound guy cares not at all about your band. You know what I mean? And so like I don't know. That's old days. Maybe everything's changed.
I mean, most bass players just show up their whole setup. It's like so easy. You just come DI right off the amp head.
Oh yeah, that's easy. They used to always Y split me and like take my feed direct into the panel and then just like let my amp be my amp almost as my monitor. You know what I mean? They wouldn't even put my crap in the monitor. Whatever.
I don't mind that. I mean, if you're gonna Y split, you're definitely gonna lose. You're gonna lose signal.
Yeah. You know what was never satisfying that I bought? I bought a bass wah-wah, and it just took all the chunk out of the bass. Do they now have better bass wahs that don't remove the chunk?
I don't know. You have to ask Eddie Lee.
Do he use a wah?
I'm sure he's got it somewhere in his signal chain.
I got it because it's just like, I used to just love the wah-wah sound so much.
Nah, not into the wah on the bass.
Yeah, well, I never used it in
on the roads. Yes.
Yeah, I never used it in. I bought it and because I love it, the sound in the records I was listening to back then, but I don't know. I never got it to sound. If there's only one bass player, you got to keep the chunk. You know what I mean? Wah pitches the chunk.
You probably need a compressor after the wah.
I don't know. I didn't have enough money to buy it. I think the wah was a gift anyway. It was cool though. Good old pedals are cool, man. They're so strong. You know what I mean? Yeah, stomp on those mothers. Dave Kleiman writes in, is making golden syrup better in my Kuhn Recon? What's the process and time? Is it still okay to cut up a lemon for the acid? So that's one question. So on golden syrup, by the way, is invert syrup that's been cooked long enough and high enough to take on a certain kind of golden kind of color. And you invert the syrup by adding acid, typically. So like some people think that you can just heat it till it turns to a caramel and then water it down. That's not how you make golden syrup. You use acid. The acid inverts the sugar. So an interesting, maybe not interesting to you, regular golden syrup is about 80 bricks, right? So 80 to 81 are right around what honey is, real thick. So you can just put that stuff in with a little bit of acid. I don't use lemon. I would, I add like, 0.2% or something like that of citric. And once it inverts, right, fructose starts turning brown at a lot lower temperature than either sucrose or glucose does. So the pressure cooker, even at first ring, can brown it up really quickly. And the advantage is, if you heat it just so it's like a liquid, then put it in there, is that you can time it pretty well, so it's pretty accurate all the time. So that's what I would do. I would just dial in exactly how long you want it to go. It doesn't take long, by the way, once it reaches pressure cooking temperatures. So you have to kind of dial that in. Yeah, is that an answer to that question or no?
Yeah.
Invert syrup is pretty cool. By the way, a lot of people, if you go to the Wikipedia page for invert sugar, right, it's wrong. So any of you guys who are Wikipedia, whatever they call it, editors, right? It's wrong. It says on it that sugar will invert just by heating it. So that if you make a simple syrup and you heat it instead of using a blender, which is the way God wants you to make simple syrup, right? It says that it's going to invert. In fact, it won't. And how do I know this? Because I did it. So I even pressure cooked it. Right, I pressure cooked regular syrup with no acid. If there's any acid in there at all, sucker's going to invert. Right, any acid. But remember that people who make sugar don't want their sugar to invert. So they make sure that the sugar liquor that they're crystallizing the sugar out is not acidic, right? Because they don't want invert, right? So what you do is I did it 2 ways. One, I actually tested for the optical rotation to see whether there was any inversion or whether it was pure sucrose. Pure sucrose, P.S. And then I used glucose test strips for people who test sodas to make sure that they're getting a diet soda because they can't have glucose, diabetic or whatever reason you can, and tested it with that negative. So no inversion on regular heating over normal periods of time. There you have it. All right. Roro Feeds. I saw in the Tropical Standard book a recipe for oleosaccharum that included either a refrigeration for a longer time or shortening the time with a sous vide bath. I was curious if flavor is best extracted without heat. I'm going to stop myself right there, Roro Feeds. I have not done a side-by-side test. And so I would be, what temperature I wonder do they use? I would be very loath to tell you one is better or worse because also there probably is no better or worse. They're probably different. And then the question is what's better for you. You know what I mean? So I think, do a side-by-side. Let me know what you like better. You know what I mean? Let me know what you like. Okay. Certain things I thought I was wrong, thought one thing, and then when you do the test, you get a different answer. So, for instance, daiquiris, which I have time later. I'll talk about Tales of the Cocktail and what we did for the daiquiri. For instance, when Nastasia and I were doing, oh my God, Nastasia, you remember how many tea infusions we had to do back at the FCI?
So many. I think back on all of the things. We did so much work there.
I know.
So much work.
I know. So Emmerich Harney, the current young generation of, not young anymore, but whatever, of Harney and Sons, brings us all this tea. And we've already told you the story where he gives us a $400 thing of tea and doesn't tell us anything. So we just throw it into a bucket of booze and make an infusion, which was good, by the way. But $400 good? I don't know. Pu'er. It was pu'er. Some fancy pu'er. So he wanted to do a tea distillate. This was, I don't know, Stas, when? Like 2010, 2009? Something stupid. And way early. So we were infusing and then rotovapping. And the point of the story is that we were doing hot infusions and then rotovapping and cold infusions and then rotovapping, right? So not even just stuff that's being extracted, but how the aromas are affected by the temperature. And there was a marked difference between cold infused and rotovapped and hot infused and rotovapped. And I would have expected the hot would be better because, usually hot extracts more of that kind of stuff. But in fact, people enjoyed the cold extracted ones more on the test that we ran. That's my memory. Did my memory jive with your memory, Nastasia?
I don't remember that detail. No.
You just remember shaking your head at the interns and telling them not to break the rotovap?
I was telling someone the other day. Do you remember when I did that thing? We had a student named Me here, and I was like, "We're going to do roll call, and you're going to say I'm here, and then you're going to say your name." So just so I could hear him say, "Me here, I'm here."
Yeah, I remember you doing that. Yeah. That's
terrible.
Terrible. Yeah, should not have done that. Yeah. Well, whatever.
Oh,
long time ago. Yeah. We're gonna give you the pass on it. Wait, we were just talking about the break. Oh, by the way, rotovaps. People have been asking drip and drapping rotovap questions in So back when I was a boy, when we were rotovapping, right? It took a lot of time and energy and like a lot of skill to get it to work properly. And nowadays, if you're gonna buy a rotovap, just make sure you get the good vacuum controller. The one that can. Here's specifically what you're looking for. Here's my 3 pieces of rotovap advice. So if you were going to buy a rotovap, don't bother asking because I'm going to have to earmuff. I'm going to have to, Nastasia's going to earmuff. 1, get plastic coated glass because someone eventually will run that rotovap without wearing eyeglasses. And the ones that aren't plastic coated are dangerous when they implode, which eventually they will, especially if you're cleaning it in the kitchen. Your odds are you're going to get some breakage and it can be pretty violent when it's under vacuum. So plastic coated glass. 2, get the biggest distillation flask you can afford. I'm going to give you 4 things. Get the biggest distillation flask you can afford because they boil up a lot and you don't want it to fly into your condenser column because that sucks, especially when you're doing habanero. When we used to do habanero and someone would boil it over into the condenser, not only do we have to stop the entire unit, We had to break everything apart, clean all the grease off, and then thoroughly wash it. Remember 3 and 4 times? And then Nastasia and I would stare at them, whoever did it, and we'd be like, now lick it. Lick the whole thing. Lick it. And they're like, what? We're like, lick the Rotovap. And if it was still spicy, we'd make them clean it again. Remember this, Nastasia?
Yeah, you can't do that now, dude.
Well, then lick it. Yeah, I can. I would totally still do that. And I was like, lick it again. And then when it's not spicy anymore, then they have to clean it. Then they clean it again to get the licking off. You know what I'm saying? Why can't I make them lick a Rotovap? You can make them taste their soup. Why can't I make them lick the Rotovap?
Nope.
If I say taste the freaking soup, they have to taste the soup, don't they?
Yeah, but it's different
I don't think
between tasting a soup and then tasting like a really potentially spicy thing.
They've cleaned it.
Yeah.
If it's spicy, it's on them.
Yep.
They cleaned it. I'm not saying I'm going to clean it and you have to test it.
Yeah.
I'm saying you're going to clean it and then you have to make sure that it's not spicy anymore. You messed it up.
No.
Yeah, why not? I don't understand what's wrong here. Like, what's wrong here?
Because you're licking you're licking a piece of equipment, not a food item.
It's a piece of glass.
And also,
it's a piece of glass.
But also, you can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do anymore. So even if they don't want to taste the soup,
I mean, they can quit.
They don't have to taste the soup.
They can quit, but the job is to make delicious food, right? It's not outside of their job purview.
John, what do you think?
For me, it's just like the element of spice being left there. Like, yeah, sure, they could have cleaned it better, but I don't know, like forcing somebody to potentially like burn their tongue off.
How are they going to burn their tongue off? Didn't they clean it?
Ostensibly.
Okay, but what if they served it to a guest? And it was like,
Well, that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't understand what's wrong here. Like, we're making a product for another person to consume.
Yeah.
You are a cook. You
Yeah.
are making a product for someone to eat, right?
Yeah.
You have to ensure that it's good, that it's not messed up, right? Tasting is part of that.
Yeah.
So if you have a piece of glassware, I'm not asking them to lick the cooler or like
Yeah.
lick the countertop. I'm saying, here's a piece of glassware that we are, by the way, pouring a liquid into that you will consume in your mouth.
Yeah.
Make sure it's not going to cross-contaminate.
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem here in my mind.
Like, are you good if somebody chops habaneros on a cutting board after they watch it? Are you gonna have them lick the cutting board?
For a cutting board, because it's hard to like that. Like what I would do there probably is have them like wipe it with like a bread. I would have them like wipe bread on it real hard and then taste it. That's how I have people test oil. Like if the oil is on the edge, right?
Yeah.
I'm like throw a cube of bread in, like, and then eat the bread.
Yeah.
And if they're like, I don't want to do that, I'm like, why are you a cook? Why the hell are you a cook? You know what I mean? It's like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go through the motions, but I don't care whether the food is actually good or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I understand it if you have like if there's a reason, if you have to cook something that you can't consume for religious or moral or allergy reasons. Get it.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But it's a piece of glassware that we're putting potable liquids through.
Yeah.
The most sensitive thing that you own to see whether or not you've cleaned it properly is your tongue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. You're just making it sound like a little fratty. I guess it's like,
It's not fratty.
Yeah. Like having them keep re-licking it until it's not spicy.
Well, how else are you supposed to do it? You tell me another way I can make sure that the next thing that goes through it isn't ruined. That all of the hours of work and all of the money that we've spent
I get you.
getting the good habaneros, rotovapping everything so that we make a non-spicy distillate, right? All of that work that the entire team is putting in.
I get it.
How do we not have that ruined? You tell me a different way to not have that ruined. And by the way, no one was ever like, I'm not doing that. Because it's like...
No, but what Nastasia is saying is that was, 15 years ago versus now.
Yeah, but I don't understand the problem. Like, what is even the problem?
Because it was like this. It'd be like this. It's like interns not paid at French Culinary asked to lick equipment headline. Like, that's...
I'll take it.
It just wouldn't fly.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
All right. Then that's... Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you know what? Another piece of equipment that sometimes it gets licked? The tasting spoon. Oh, no! I won't use spoons! No stainless in this mouth. Come on, let's get real here. You know what I mean? It's not like it's like you're making it look like they're crawling around on the ground. I'm not like get on your back, go underneath the prep table, and scrounge around with your tongue out and your eyes closed and see what you get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Second question from Dave Kleiman. I'm making a burner for my homemade tandoor. Does having a pattern of orifices in various sizes give me more versatile BTU settings? Will the propane only flow through the smallest holes ignited at the lowest pressure and move to the larger holes as pressure increases? The burner is made of steel. Should I cover it with a refractory cement with skewers in the holes temporarily? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to see it, right? So, again, it's my favorite thing to quote Rosemary's Baby, every burner is different, or to paraphrase, I guess. And so people who make burners are very careful to try to make them work for the particular application at hand. So some people will have like two actual different burners with two different knobs. It's very hard to get a burner that throttles all the way from I'm going crazy down to I'm being mellow. It's super hard to do. And usually if one is flaming out, the gas is going to come out of all the holes all the time. The question is it going to sustain a flame or is it going to blow out? And I don't know, you just need to test, right? I mean, like I can't really make any recommendations. You just need to test. But when don't they make burners for the tandoors? I think they make ones that are built for the tandoor. You know what I bet you? I bet you those things work because they were built for the tandoor. So I would look at those burners. I only ever used charcoal and wood in mine. So I don't have any experience with gas firing a tandoor. I would look at what professionals do because professionals don't have time to F about. I'm sure that works. Like whatever they use works. And even if maybe you can't afford the one that they're getting or can't source it, like see how similar it is. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, no, I didn't finish Roro feeds. We just started talking about heat, right? All right. So we're back on oleosaccharum, all right? Just to reset so you know what, for those of you that don't know what oleosaccharum is, let's just start there. You take, it's kind of a funny word, right? Oleosaccharum.
It is.
Yeah. So you take citrus peels, traditionally, like lemon, lime, whatever. Although lime, whatever. Anyway, let's just say lemon or whatever. You know what I mean? And then you put the peels in at the bottom of something. Then you throw sugar on top, and you scruncha the sugar. Now, a lot of people are like, oils aren't soluble in the sugar. That's the whole point. The sugar is an abrasive. The sugar here is an abrasive so that you can smash the peels and just break up the cells and get the oil out, right? Okay. So you do that, and you let it sit for a certain length of time. It macerates. The sugar also sucks the water out of the peel, so you're extracting a lot out of it, but a lot of the effect of the sugar is abrasive, and then that's used in various recipes, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we're back on oleosaccharum, and I remember I said from earlier in this show that I didn't know whether heat was going to be beneficial or detrimental. Certainly too much heat would probably be detrimental, but anyway. Although think about it. When you do cordial, you boil the peel.
Yeah.
But if you boil the peel for too long, so when you're making cordial, typically I do 1-to-1 sugar and lime juice or whatever you're doing. Oh, by the way, back to the golden syrup question. When you invert, let's say you were to invert syrup or make a cordial inside of a jar in a pressure cooker so it's sealed and nothing can evaporate, right? Right. Whenever there's acid present and you're heating in sugar, remember, it's going to invert. That's the whole point. So inversion, which I should have explained this more. Inversion, in case you don't know, sucrose is a disaccharide. It's got a glucose and a fructose together, right? So one of the disadvantages of sucrose is that it crystallizes when you have a concentration greater than about 67 bricks. So maple syrup is right at that level. It's almost all sucrose maple syrup, except for the flavor part of it. And if you get it any higher than that in sugar content, it'll crystallize. Honey is invert syrup, typically, almost all invert syrup. So that means that sucrose has been broken. Either it didn't start that way, or you can take sucrose and break it into a glucose and a fructose. Now, honey can stay liquid all the way up to about 82 Brix. It will crystallize if you are into those kind of crystallized creamed honeys, right? But like even at 82 Brix, you can keep it like semi-liquid anyway. And, if you go even a little bit below that, it's not going to crystallize because invert sugar can take a much higher concentration before it crystallizes than sucrose can. Okay. So acid is going to invert. Now, when you invert, and it's called inversion because in case you guys care, dextrose is the same as glucose, right? The word dextrose, glucose, same word. You know why it's called dextrose? Anyone?
No.
Well, dexter, like go to the right, like dexter, right, as opposed to levro, right? So when light goes through sucrose, when polarized light goes through sucrose, it's bent to the right. So it's so glucose so glucose, which is dextrose, bends to the right. Fructose bends to the left when light goes through. So you can actually measure how much inversion has happened with a polarizer. And I've been doing it. It's kind of fun. When you invert sucrose, when you break apart the sucrose to make a glucose and a fructose, you add a water to it. So what happens is one water for every molecule of sucrose that gets broken, one water molecule comes out of your water and becomes part of the sucrose, part of the glucose and fructose. So the Brix goes up. So if you were to even completely seal a jar at 50 Brix, right? Seal it. Nothing can evaporate. With a little acid, heat it so it inverts, and now measure the Brix, it's higher. So it's about 5% higher. So a 50 Brix syrup, if you invert it without evaporating anything at all, is going to read about 52.5 Brix, right? So it's just so you know, like when you're heating it and you're going to invert sugar, all your Brix readings are going to get tossed off, and every soda manufacturer has to worry about this. Except for us because we use corn syrup. But all of the people who don't use corn syrup, who use actual sugar, and they're trying to hit Brix targets for their, they have to worry about inversion. Anyway, back to oleosaccharum. I've also seen people heat the oleo after extraction and melt the sugar, and I don't know why you would need to do that though, because you're going to add liquid to it typically, like juice. And I've seen them do it with peels in the mixture and by squeezing the mixture from the peels before heating. I know what I was going to say. That's why I got on cordial. When you're making cordial, typically you throw peels into the cordial and heat them as it comes up. But the way we used to make cordial all the time is you're bringing it just to the boil, and that boiling kind of produces that stable cooked citrus flavor and also extracts flavor from the peels that you have in the cordial, right? And then you're tasting it to see when the peel extraction is what you want, and then you're straining it all, right? Now, if you've listened to me talk about cordial, the problem with cordial is that there's not enough acidity in it, so it's overly sweet. So traditional cordial is a little too sweet for my taste considering how much acid, so I add acid back to it. A way to do it without adding acid to it, to have it be totally natural, is to boil it for a long time to reduce it down such that once you add the sugar to it, it's at its original volume again, right? You get me? All right. Now, if you add the peels early on in that boil, because I did it, it is unpalatably bitter from the peel by the time you're done. So you can overheat the peel and extract too much bitterness. So if you're going to heat the peel for an oleum, be aware that the more you heat it and the longer it sits in that hot environment, the more bitterness you're going to be extracting from the peel. Yeah? All right. Okay. Does Dave and Co. have any thoughts on the best approach for oleos? I don't know. I feel like I've tapped out on oleo. But I've seen oleo recipes listed at 1-to-1 peel versus sugar. I'm wondering if 2-to-1 peel to sugar will result in better flavor concentration or if that just hurts food safety. I wouldn't do 2-to-1 because, honestly, are you ever like, I can't add more oleo because it's too sweet? If the answer is no, then you're using the actual abrasive power of the sugar to get the stuff out. I would just stay with the recipe that works. If you're like, I wish I could add more oleo, but it's just too dang sweet, then, sure, do that. Or hell, mix some sand in with it. I'm kidding. I'm not, though. I'm kidding, but I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Strain the sand out. Once the sugar melts, strain the sand out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Justin Sherrill writes in, I've been saving vanilla beans to use them for infusions. Cannot toast them and grind them up in the odd blender I have for more. Why is your blender on? For more vanilla effect. but they've still been a bit fibrous after blending. Is there a Pectinex equivalent that would break them down for more, or a better way to grind them? I don't think Pectinex is going to break the vanilla down because I think it's a little bit lignified, the fibers. I don't know whether it's lignin or cellulose. Probably maybe either one is more difficult to break than pectin, much more. What I would do, were I you, if you had liquid nitrogen, just freeze the heck out of them with liquid nitrogen, then blend them up to a powder. Or on the other side, it's really, a lot of the flavor is going to be gone if you've already done if you've done a good job infusing, the flavor is sucked out of that. As we've said before, like most of the flavor is gone by that time. You could dehydrate them. Right? Like if you dehydrate them completely until they're like husks, then the fiber is going to break up a lot easier in a blender. Yeah? Yeah. And then do the old fashioned, I hate doing this. So I'm telling you to do something that I hate doing, but blend, sift, blend, sift, blend, sift, blend, sift, so that you're not continuously blending the fine particles already. It's a good way to make yourself angry at yourself and the life choices you've made, but it does make for a more even powder. Okay. Agos writes in, question on pasteurization. I got my hands on some raw milk. What would be the best way to pasteurize it while preserving the flavor as much as possible? I suspect sous vide would be great at it. I don't know, but John looked up some pasteurization temperatures. What do you got?
Oh. 163 Celsius for at least 30 minutes or 72 Celsius for at least 15 seconds.
Okay, so I wouldn't do the high one, I'd do the low one. So here's what I would do. I would, when they're doing pasteurization and they want it to happen quickly, they pass the milk between like very thin plates or in very like small tubes so that the heat transfer is immediate. So you don't have to wait for the stuff to come up to temperature. So I would do it for this in bags and keep the bags thin and then put the bags between two cooling racks. So like when I'm in a half Lexan, let's say, and I need to separate my meat out, like I'll have a bunch of quarter cooling racks and I'll use those because they have the little nubbins on them. So you could do cooling rack with nubbins down, milk bag, thinnish milk bag, then quarter rack nubbins up, another quarter rack nubbins down, milk bag, quarter rack nubbins up, quarter rack nubbins down, milk bag, and then finish with a quarter rack nubbins up, drop in your half Lexan, and you'll get full water in between the things, and you'll be able to – because you have to do 30 minutes from the time it comes up to temperature. So you could do like 35, 36 minutes because if the bag of milk is thin enough, you're going to heat through it relatively quickly, especially with there'll be some form of convection currents on the inside. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. JPM, how do you recommend figuring out – I'm going to do you last, JPM. Christian Sacco writes in – looking for some quick tips on good polenta. I've never loved it when I made it, and I need some help with things. Add pork.
Yeah.
That's called scrapple, and scrapple is delicious. I love scrapple. Anyone here not like scrapple?
I used to not like it, but I've grown.
Yeah. I can see some people not liking it if it's heavy liver. Yeah, right, Jack? It's delicious. If it was just called, like, porky polenta, people would buy it. They're like, ooh, scrapple. Ooh, Pennsylvania people. Yeah. Amish. Who likes that? You know what I mean? Like, people saving money, making, no, like, delicious.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's the best way to, right? Polenta made with, like, a good stock and, like, some pork mixed up in that thing. Chill, slice, fry.
Yum.
You know what I did? Someone mentioned to me the other day when I was at Tales of the Cocktail. They reminded me that they had been to this dinner I cooked. I don't know, 20 years ago, 18 years ago, at my old apartment where Food Network had asked me to make Halloween creepy foods. Did I ever talk about this?
I don't think so.
All right. So I did a bunch of on my crepe maker, I made like spider web crepes with the crepe maker, which is cool. Well, but the one that I was most psyched about is I molded my finger in silicone. And then I cut it off. I pulled my finger out and then cut it in half so I had a mold. And then I took polenta and I was keeping it warm and then molding fingers in polenta. So so I was molding all of these fingers in polenta and then putting a Marcona almond in where the fingernail was and then deep frying them So they were like crispy because the movie The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer, one of the scenes in it, I'm spoiling for you guys, sorry, but like is the guy goes down into his French fries and dips in ketchup and he pulls one up and it's a human finger. And so I wanted to do like the Hitcher thing. So I had like French fries with the occasional polenta human finger in them. Yeah.
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 Nice.
Yeah. But, the Marcona, the almond was key, man. Got to go for realism. You know what I mean? Gross yellow fingernail. You know what? I think I used a yellow polenta though. I didn't use because no human is that color, polenta colored.
No.
Should have gone for like the whatever.
Next time.
Yeah. Although I was deep frying it, so it's going to get toasty color. Yeah. So it wasn't. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Looking for some quick tips on good polenta. I've never loved it when I made it. Need some help with things. If you could just talk about it quickly, what would be lovely? Things like what coarseness type of cornmeal to buy. You know what you shouldn't do is try to make polenta with grits. You have to cook it forever. So like I had some delicious what's that? Geechee Boy grits. And I made grits with them and they're delicious. The what are the Jimmy Red or whatever they're called. Yeah. And they're delicious. Yeah. And you're like, you know what? I wasn't actually making polenta, I was making scrapple. But same. So I'm like, and I have these great grits and they're not going to last forever. So I'm going to try to keep, and it just takes forever. Eventually you'll get it, you know what I mean? But it's just like, you think that kid in the Sandlot, things were going to happen forever. Like trying to make polenta with grits, no. So you want like a finer, like more of a cornmealy texture, and less of a, although I guess polenta is closer to, hey Stas, are you a polenta queen?
I like it. I don't love it. Like,
I mean, making it. Like, what do you use more like a semolina, or do you use more like a closer to? Because cornmeal that most of us buy is actually pretty close to a semolina. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you use regular cornmeal when you make it, or do you buy the fancy?
I feel like for this,
if I'm making it,
sorry, Anastasia, I cut you off.
No, I said if I'm going to make it, I think I would have bought the fancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that's what I would do too. I feel like if you're not getting the good stuff, it's just not going to taste very good.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you're going to make it Italian style, buy the crap that the Italians got pellagra with. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if it's good enough to give an entire couple of generations of people pellagra because they don't know about nixtamalization and they, don't have enough nutrients because polenta is not a good, corn's not a good staple on its own unless it's been nixtamalized, go the way they did. We have vitamins now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so we got coarseness. Although, listen, if you can buy some of these fancy cornmeals, like not grits, but like the fancy cornmeal, they really are quite good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But Jimmy Red would be Jimmy Red, right? And there's a blue one that they make.
I think they've changed the name.
All right, let's see what they got. Well, Geechee did,
yeah,
because they're not actually Geechee.
Yeah,
yeah.
Marsh Hen Mill,
yeah, or Anson, or any of those folks. All right. I wonder whether Hacienda sells any that aren't, just cornmeal that's not been effed with. I know that's not their mandate, but they have such good corn. Jorge, gotta have him back on sometime. Delicious. All right. JPM writes in, how do you recommend figuring out the titratable acidity of a fruit juice, especially with fruits that have variable amounts of acidity in a bar setting? Historically, I have just Googled for titratable acidity and found ranges for most fruit. I found these methods, pH meter and by color indicator for wine. Would they work for fruit juices? No. But I'll tell you something. JPM, I didn't really want to talk about this because I'm working on it for the reissue of, in a year or so of Liquid Intelligence. It's actually not that hard to do titration at home or at a bar. I've been doing it now, and it's like super fast. That's how I found out that the lactic acid isn't pure. All you need is a scale that is measures small amounts. That's good to 1/100 of a gram, and you need some sodium hydroxide and phenolphthalein. All of this stuff can be delivered one day from Amazon. I'm going to write about it in depth I don't know if I'm going to do it on social before the book comes out, but I am, I've been working on it in depth, and it's pretty simple to do. And it's actually really kind of fun. You need a white piece of paper and some bright lights if you're my age, so you can really see when it. But it's not titration with a burette the way that people used to do it, the way they do it in labs. You can do what's called gravimetric titration, which is titration by weight. And because sodium hydroxide is such a strong base, and these acids that we're using are weak acids, it's a very crisp, clear color change. And phenolphthalein, which is super easy to source, not food grade though, works fantastically. So that's what I do. Do it like a couple of times and you'll be a pro at it. It really does not take long to learn. You do need something that can measure by the drop, though. So like eyedropper. What do you got?
Just want to say, James Wang, we'll get to your Sabayon question next week. And thank you, Andrew Cummings, for looking up those recipes for me during the show.
Although we think, by the way, on the Sabayon, I'll say this on the way out. I apologize, Joe. I used to have problems with Sabayon all the time. Of course, I was doing it traditionally in like a bowl, like over a bane, over hot water, whisking it. Sabayon, you don't know, he's like, you take like wine and whatever and egg yolk, you whip it up. You can do it. He wants to do or they want to do a savory one. Every time that you don't cook it enough, even a little bit not enough, it's going to break right away. And you're always nervous you're going to overcook the egg. You didn't cook the egg enough. I guarantee you that's what happened. You didn't cook the egg enough because it looks like it's great. You're like, oh my God. And then poof, it dies, which sucks. So just make sure you cook it enough. And we'll talk to you next week. This time, another Friday episode next week, Cooking Issues.